Yung process ng mga gaps, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, Josh Kelly Mesa, our dearest editor. So, okay na ang grade mo sa akin. Magmagandang result. Anyone from the class? Thank you, Josh. Okay, I will call. Gusto ko marinig ang answer ni Jersey Alcantara. Anything you can remember from what I discussed last Thursday lang. So that's a day after lang to this day. Yes. Can you remember something from what we discussed? Please have mercy. Let's change the lighting para medyo pale masyado tignan, Sir Jacob. Mukhang hindi healthy, Sir Jacob. Anyone? Yes? Wala yun ay, grabe na pud na. Uy, it hurts my feelings ba? Hindi mo naalala sa kuha? I know I can see cloud of thoughts inside your brain. What are the things you can remember? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng G, ng S, ng G2? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng interface? Ba tinawag na interface? Sige daw, be. Oh, Josh talaga. Sige, si Josh na naman. Yes, Josh.
Yung process ng GAP1, sir, is
Okay.
para yung cell mag-grow for two reasons. The cell
Okay.
takes water to grow and the organelles are starting to divide.
Correct. Very good.
What you said last time.
Okay. That is under the GAP1. So the cells are
Yes,
starting to somehow mature. Very good. So what else? Yes, Gian.
GAP
Thank
zero.
you. Okay. Please add pa. Wait lang, Gian. Meron pang i-add daw si ano. Sige, Josh, GAP0 or the GAP not.
Most cells are starting to rest na dito, sir.
Okay, very good. Why do they
para
need to
makita
rest?
nila yung physiological state, sir.
Very good. Good term. So that's a good term. Jargon dapat tayo dito. Pag jargon, ibig sabihin, we only understand a language in our group. Yung ibang subject hindi nila alam. Yes, continue.
Sa GAP0 pa rin, sir.
Okay, what else?
GAP2, sir.
Mm-hmm.
The cells organelles should prepare multiplying for meiosis, sir.
Oh, okay. Yes. The cells already preparing for meiosis or mitosis. Okay. Yes, thank you so much, Josh. Thank you for that, Josh. Maliwanag ng daan ko. So who else? Gian, can you add more? Gian Navarro.
Next, sir, is the S synthesis.
Okay, the S or the synthesis phase.
This is where the DNA will replicate or organelles will replicate, sir.
Okay, very good. So in the synthesis, the most likely the DNA will replicate either to produce 23 pairs or 46 pairs, depende yung sa kailangan ng cells. Kasi pwede siya sa meiosis for the sex cells, so the gametes, and the somatic cells, 46 because humans have 46 pairs of chromosomes. Tama? So pag magkulang or may mangyaring something, the product will become either cancer or a problematic cell in that manner. Okay? So thank you for that. So let's continue now. I hope you can still remember those things and we will proceed this one. Kasi continuation siya. So kahapon tinanong ko kayo, ano ibig sabihin nito? So sabi nyo, this follows a process. Hindi pwedeng mawala ang isang process or mag-shortcut para magdiretsong butterfly. So it should follow a certain process so that the correct order of things will occur. Without a certain process or instruction, nothing will happen or may mangyaring masama or chaotic in that end. Okay? Maybe sa ating society or maybe sa inyong studies mismo. If you don't follow my instructions, what will happen? You will fail most likely. Pag sabing ito ang deadline, ito ang deadline. Today we will be reviewing about stages, but we will now discuss on higher end the control points o yung mga checkpoints in layman's term. Ano yung mga points na kailangan nating maisip when it comes to proceeding to G1 to S2? Is or are the flow or yung flow ng mga processes smooth ba siya or meron kailangang isipin? Very good. Ako na lang andito, oh. Okay, so same ang ating objectives here. I hope yung iba maka-on ang camera nila later on. So, our topic will have the same big idea for this week. Next week, class, I will continue to discuss na okay, nag-ulan di ay, no? Tama, nag-ulan di ay. Anyway, so, magkuha mo lang sinampay si Josh. Go lang. So, the same ang ating big idea, but next week, we will start na kay mitosis na for one day lang. That will be Thursday kasi summative test kayo by Saturday. Okay? So, let's continue now. So, again, let's answer these questions. Why do cells divide? They need to divide because of certain reasons. Kailangan nila magparami because an organism should grow and they need to multiply for them to propagate and to keep the bodily functions of the person or organism proper. So if di mag-stop sila, the organism will die kasi mag-stop na ang reproduction ng cells nila. Kasi everyday cells are dying. Kailangan siya ma-replace. And next, what should cells do for it to divide? There are things that the cells should do for it to divide. Take note class, again sabi ko, hindi always mitosis ang ginagawa ng cell. Most of its life is under interface. With that, cells should have to focus on 3 before they complete the task of what? Dividing. Kailangan magparami, parang tao. Anong dapat igawin? The cell must grow. In this sense, sabi ko nga, kailangan yung organelles niya mature na and yung kanyang parts are all grown well. Tama? So, pwede siya mag-divide. Kasi pag hindi pa, pag premature pa yan, possible maging cancer cells or may abnormality. The exact copy of the DNA, okay, should be replicated properly. Dapat mirror sila. Kasi pag may isang program dyan or isang code na mali, for example, AGTC, thiamine, guanine, adenine, guanine, thymine to cytosine. Kung may mali na code dyan, magkakabaliktad, this cell will have abnormal instructions. So, dapat same instruction. Kung ano siya skin, dapat siya skin. Kung magkamali ang instruction, ano mangyari? Maging tumor siya or magiging cancerous. Nawala ang net nila, Jude. That's sad. Anyway, let's continue. How about the others class? Marinig nyo ako ng maayos? Am I clear sa lahat ba? Okay lang ba ang internet nyo dyan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, pero bakit ako lang naka-on ng camera? Well, let's continue. The third one, they need to physically split. Ang tawag dito pala is cytocell kinesis. Ba? Kinesis. Cytokinesis yan. Meaning cell separation or cell movement to become 2. Cytokinesis. Okay? Then they need to produce 2 daughter cells na in that sense. Itong 2 daughter cells will go back to the first process and it will continue as long as we are alive. Hindi mag-stop siya unless something will happen or the cell is specialized, kagaya ng neuron. They will not continue anymore during your mature stage or mature life. So, in cell cycle, there are 2 major divisions. Class, magkaiba ang cell cycle. Again, to cell division ha, magkaiba yun siya. Cell cycle follows the large portion, mga let's say 90% of the life of the cell. Then, the cell will undergo mitotic phase. By the way, saan true ang mitotic phase? Anong cells lang nag-undergo ng mitotic phase or the mitosis? Can anyone answer that? Saan lang ba pwede nangyayari ang mitosis? Di ba may 2 main types of cells? Saan pwede mangyari ito? Kay?
Somatic cells, sir.
Very good. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng somatic? Somatic means body cells. Cells ng katawan natin. Ano yung kabaliktaran ng somatic cells? Anong kanyang counterpart? These are called the germ or saan makita ang gametes class? Saan ito makita? Where can you locate the gametes? Anyone? Hala, hello? Class, please interact para ikaw kasi naka-off ng camera. Saan?
Sperm cell.
Sperm cell lang sa boys. Okay, sa boys, sperm cell. Sa girls, this will be the egg cell. So, these egg and sperm cells are called gametes or germ cells or the sex cells. They don't undergo mitosis, but they undergo, kagaya sabi ng classmate nyo, kahapon, meiosis. Specific lang siya dito sa kanila. Okay, meiosis. Okay? So, these are all cell division. Pero both sila mag-undergo ng interface muna. Because interface serves as the preparation. Okay? Maghanda muna sila bago magkaroon ng movement. Mag-divide. Kasi malaki yung mangyayari sa division. Pag magkamali lang talaga ng kaunti class, the product cell will become abnormal or merong away sa normalcy. Okay, now, let's discuss again this one. Quick lang, interface. Inter, again, sabi ko, meaning in between. Then phase meaning stage or cycle. Follows a cycle or stage. So between, ito siya. Tama? May mga things that are happening in between the life of the cell. Okay, those are the gaps in the S. Okay. So kahapon, ginamit ko ito So I hope you can remember. But today I will be using this one instead in our e-board kasi medyo matipis at I have time to write. Okay? So anong mas prefer nyo? Itong una or itong una? Itong pangalawa, I mean. Class, ano mas gusto nyo? I am 70% sure that some of you here are not listening. You are just having their a talk. I'm not sure anymore. I'm not sure if may mga student pa ako dito. Which one do you prefer? This one or this one? Or this one? Saan ang gusto nyo?
Oo
Hello?
lang, sir.
Bakit nag-iba ang boses ni Kurt? Itong una. Okay, but mamaya, during the checkpoints, I will discuss this one. Sige. Kasi dalawa lang man ang ating main topics here. Phases, stages, and the checkpoint. Okay, excuse me. So let's go with number 1. Okay, ito siya, first picture. So again, quick review tayo for this one. What do you mean by G again in the interface? Interface is composed of 3 stages and 1 cell division. G1, S, and G2. And another specialized shortcut or away from the interface, the G0 or the gap knot. Anyone from the class, ano ibig sabihin ng G? What does... Ha? Class, where are you? Class, wala mo na ako makita. O, sige, mag-off ako ng camera. Ay, unfair masyado.
Gap
O, di ba?
1, sir.
O, gap 1. Magkakasama ba kayo ngayon? Are you together? Gap 1. So, gap 1 or the first gap. Gap 2 for the second gap. Class, do you want me to go again here or I will move forward na to the doon sa ating topic about the checkpoints ng interface? Anong gusto niyo? I-refresh ko muna kayo. Quick lang.
Yes,
Yes
sir.
po, sir.
Okay, thank you class. So, I hope mabasa nyo yan, synthesis. So, let's try yellow na para maganda. So, for the interface, again, remember, sa interface, most of the cell's life is andito. So, the cell will remain in interface. Okay, so most cells remain here before they will divide, except for the cancer cells. So, cancer cells will directly, di ba cancer cells? Ano ang class? Sige daw. What is the common thing about cancer cells? Why are they bad in the body? Ba't ba masama ang cancer cells? Anyone, ano pala ang cancer? Maliban sa classmate nyo sa thesis, ano pala ang cancer? Hello, bakit masama ang cancer sa katawan? Hey, Jude. Anyone from the class, ba't masama ang cancer? Yes, Hazel.
Try lang, sir. Some of the cells are killed by the cancer cells.
How come? Almost, yeah, correct. Almost. Bakit? Ba't niya patayin?
They want to replace most probably.
Okay, they want to replace most probably the normal cells. So cancer cells are abnormal cells or cells that are replicating in a uncontrollable, unprecedented manner. Ibig sabihin, pag itong cell for example, itong cell mag-divide lang siya 1 times a day. Example ha, ang cancer cell in 1 day mag-divide siya ng 10 times. Therefore, in normal interface, the cells should divide in this manner. So for example, cancer cells 10 times, it will go directly, it will not stay in interface, but saan siya magpunta? Diretso kay mitosis hanggang magdami sila. Ano mangyari pag madaming cells na abnormal? The cells now will become a tumor and the surrounding normal cells will be deprived with nutrients, then they will die. That is why cancer cells are very dangerous because it will deprive the body and the normal cells with normal nutrients, and yeah, the body cannot keep up until the body will have many lumps na, mga tumors na normal yun kasi yung kanyang symptoms. Okay, mga cancer cells growing rapidly. So let's go now with gap 1. Gap 1 is happening right after the M or the mitosis in this case. Somatic cells lang muna tayo ha. After the M, mag-divide yung cell, diretso kaagad siya kay gap 1. What is happening in gap 1 again? What's happening in gap 1? During gap 1, ito yung pinakamalaking percent during the interface. here in gap 1, the cell will now start to mature and grow so that it can be ready for what is happening next, which is the synthesis. So during this time, during gap 1, the cell will stay most of the life or most of its life. So most life na lang. And at the second one, it will have to produce organelles para mag-function properly, especially class mitochondria for the plants, yung chloroplast niya. Kailangan marami siyang chloroplast para maraming pagkain. And of course, kailangan niya mag-synthesize ng proteins with the help of our RNA from the ribosomes through the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Class, hirap ito ba? Can you please tell me if I am going too fast or are you getting my point or can you still go and follow me? Okay lang ba yun? Kasi wala akong nakikitang mukha eh, walang reaction. Naka-off lang, sad masyado. Sabi ko ka, comfortable na lang tayo. Pwede kayo magkain or whatever para naman kahit pa paano we can talk here like friends. Class? Hello? Okay lang ba kayo?
Okay lang man, sir. Tama lang.
Ba't hindi kayo nag-on ng camera? Kahit sana comfortable lang kayo. Kasi ako lang talaga naka-online kaysa feeling class. Alam ko I cannot force you but at least maka-on ng camera yung iba dyan. Especially sa ilalim o sana. Hindi talaga maka-on ng camera. Sige na lang. Okay. So, here is the gap 1. Then after that one, if all the things are, the checklists are done, the organelles are there, the proteins are there, the cells now will be ready to proceed to S phase or known as the synthesis phase. So here in the process here, some cells, most cells will go here and proceed to synthesis. Some, like what I mentioned, will proceed to gap 0 or the gap not. The gap 0 happens because cell during after the mitosis, while they are having their organelles and proteins produced, they need to rest. Hindi dapat sila magdiretso kaagad because some cells, okay, gaya ng sabi ko, yung G1 ay G-gap 2, mag-rest muna sila. At the same time, they are waiting for signals or mga stimuli sa katawan. May mga certain kasi na proteins and hormones that will signal. For example, yung bones nyo will not rapidly grow, but during adolescence and puberty, your growth hormones from the pituitary gland will signal the body in the bones cells for them to grow rapidly. Kaya from being a stagnant bone for a while, na mabagal yung pag-grow niya, kaya mataka kayong classmate nyo, pagbalik niya pag after summer, tangkad na kaayo, mas tangkad pa sa'yo. Parang ganon. Yung medyo maliit ng high school, pagka-college, sumangkad bigla. So parang late lang yung kanyang growth. Okay, so it's because of the growth hormone, the signals given by the brain to the cells for them to grow. So in that manner, some cells will proceed now to synthesis para magdami sila. Okay, mag-continue na to reach mitosis, mag-divide. But minsan, like what I mentioned, some cells like the neuron or the nerve cells will not proceed na during the mature life ninyo because they will no longer or not capable of dividing more. Kasi class, isipin nyo if hindi siya mag-stop divide, your brain will become bigger. It might sound good but it's bad because we are proportionate humans, proportionate beings tayo. If may mga something wrong, may too much na cells, like for example brain cells, the body cannot function well anymore or baka may something na mangyari sa'yo, no? Maybe too much intelligence, I'm not sure, or too much hormones because hormones are regulated in the brain. So may certain life mo, mag-stop na siya multiply. Kaya sabi ko, if you met an accident, what will happen? The nerves can no longer replicate or divide and they cannot heal anymore. So that is a permanent damage. Kasi nasa gap 0 na sila most likely. So sabi ko, the size of my brain is now already fixed. But the brain becomes plastic. Brain plasticity. Mag-adapt pa rin siya. Okay, kasi nga parang stretchable yung term. So during the S phase or the synthesis, remember, from the term synthesize, this means that the cell will start to what? Synthesize what? Ito lang isipin nyo ha. It will replicate the DNA. Bakit kailangan i-replicate ang DNA? Ba't kailangan mag-produce ng dalawang copy? Anyone? Why does the cell should make sure that the copy should be equal and mirror of the other one? Ba't kailangan the same talaga ang ma-produce niya? Na-replicate na DNA. Bakit class? Bakit kailangan the same sila? Yes, George?
Para dili abnormal, sir.
Yes, because remember, the DNA holds the instruction what should the cell do. So without the proper instructions, the cell will act abnormally, away from normancy. Okay, normalcy. Okay? So with that, the DNA will be replicated. Yun ang tandaan, synthesis na lang muna ha. Then after the synthesis, all the DNAs are there, ready for replication and the rest. Also, during this time, it will start to what? Check if the other organelles are present. After that, of course, gap 2. Now, the gap 2 here will have the following. So sa gap 2, these are the things na mangyari. In this phase, it will prepare for the M, the mitosis. It will make organelles. Now, make sure the organelles are there, especially the mitochondria. Kailangan yun kasi itong bagong gawa na cell, kailangan niya ng energy. Para may energy, kailangan niya na may mitochondria na tama. Tama. Third, kailangan niya magawa ng macrotubules. These macrotubules are the ones that will literally hilahin niya ang chromosome na dalawa separately, equal man sila, hiwalay, yung isa magiging cell A, yung isa magiging cell B. Yun yung magiging brain ng isang cell. So, dapat equal sila. So, sino mag-organize yan? Microtubules through the spindle fiber. So, yan yung fiber, yan yung parang tali na magkabit sa centromere, basta later on na lang, sa gitna ng DNA or ng chromosome or chromatid para maghiwalay sila equally away from each other. Parang pole to pole kasi yan siya. Ito siya maging yung other cell, ito siya other cell. Maghiwalay sila, then yun siya, magbuo na sila hiwalay. So, ang isang cell, clone niya ito perfectly kasi equal size or equal ang kanilang DNA. Ganun lang. After that, the gap 2 will end once the mitosis will start. Dito na yung magkaroon ng cell division. The cell now will become 2 daughter cells from 1 parent cell. So, yung parang parent cell before, naging daughter cell siya kasi nagdalawa na sila. Then this one will now multiply. Parang 2n ang formulation, parang ganon. Tama ba? Yes, 2n times 2 times 2 times 2 until so on. So remember, these processes should be normal and should be followed through the instructions given by the body. Plus, normally sa body, who gives the instructions are don't forget, the proteins. Hindi yung protein ng karne-karne ha. These are proteins. These are the most amazing molecules found in the body. Okay? Proteins yan sila. Okay? So these are proteins. Now, let's proceed to the control points. Okay? So, are there any questions here? Gap 1, gap 2, mitosis, S, and whatever. May question ba kayo? Wala. Gusto ko i-challenge nyo ako sa questions. Gusto ko yung ganun. Walang questions? Tapusin na natin ito. Kalokohan natin. Tapusin natin ang plastikan. Nakikinig bang iba dyan? Alam ko hindi. Grade 12, please, open up. Are you okay? Can we continue now? Charles, Rainier, okay lang ba ikaw? Prayar, Karel, Sia, Shea ba Shea? Jan, are you okay lang Jan? Jan. Jan. Ante.
Yes, sir.
Okay, kita ko. Ang ano kasi ang ating meeting ngayon naka-speaker ako. Anyway. How about si Cindy? Cindy, okay lang ba? Okay ka lang dyan?
Yes po.
Okay, very good. Si Erica.
Yes, sir.
Okay, William. Oh, di ba? Wala si William pala dyan. Scam. Anyway, so let's continue now. With this topic, I will be discussing again the interface, but not already what's happening between gap 2, S, and gap 1, but what are the checkpoints. Class, like I told you, this is a process. Kailangan merong standard. Without the checkpoints, the cell will become abnormal. So there will be some anomalies that will happen if the checkpoints will not be followed and is strictly followed. So ano bang purpose ng checkpoint sa normal na buhay ng tao? Ano bang normal? Ano bang purpose ng checkpoint? Sige daw, kung alam nyo anong checkpoint. Sige nga. Anong checkpoint, class? What is a checkpoint? Yes, Hazel?
Checkpoint is das ina-make sure nila na ma-safe ang people.
Yes, very good. So yung checkpoint, yung mga police doon, before they allow you to enter during the pandemic sa Pulumulok, kailangan nila muna i-check kung taga Pulumulok ka or meron kang COVID test, positive, negative, ganun. For them to allow something to continue or for you to happen or for you to continue to enter the place. Same thing here. There are specific checkpoints in this interface. Okay, hindi lang yung cell magdiretso lang siya without the control. Okay, or without someone to properly regulate. So remember ha, merong mga regulations for the process to be smooth and proper. Okay? So right now, we will dissect the interface using this diagram here. So alam niyo naman ang G1, G2, and S and M. So I will not discuss that anymore, but only the control points. Again, the following control points are found here. Ito siya na line here. I read na lang para mas maganda. This one here is the control point. This is called the control point G1S control point. Okay? The other one is here. The G2M control point or checkpoints. Okay? Meron pa ditong isa. This one is what we call the G1 restriction. The G1 restriction will be the one to tell if the cell can go towards G0 or can just continue as is. Okay? Okay ka na, kaya mo na. So go ka na kay S. Hindi mo na, mag-rest ka muna. So you will have to stay in gap 0. You need to grow properly first. Okay? But in this manner, class, maklaro niyo ba ang red sa screen? Hindi. Klaro ang red? Hindi. Or ang yellow ang mas prefer nyo? Okay lang?
Okay lang po, sir.
Okay, sige. So this will be an art class. So take note ha, the checkpoints controls the flow and will allow something to happen or not. Okay? So ulitin natin. Okay, I will focus only on this one. G1, G1S checkpoint, G2M checkpoint or control points. Okay. Class, for the regulations, all the checkpoints are regulated by proteins. Okay? So ito ang ating magiging friends ngayon. So these proteins are specific for each part. So i-divide ko ito dito, ganyan. Ay pangit. That's why kailangan ko talaga ng time para perfect ang ating discussion. Yan, very good. Galing. Thank you, Jacob. Very good, Jacob. Yan. So, let's start now here. So, let's say, sa proteins natin class, they are the ones who regulate, parang sila yung police, mga army or soldiers, whatever, mga guards. So, in this case, proteins are specific per gap, per S, per stage. Okay? So, they are very strict about that one. Okay, wait lang. Ba't nangyari? Okay, so ganyan. Ayusin ko lang ha para mga tignan. Yan. Tingnan ka ba kung maganda? Yan. Okay. So let's continue now. So, these proteins are, in general term, they are called the CDK or known as the cyclin-dependent kinases or kinase. Okay? So first protein are the CDK. Si CDK, yan yung mag-pair sa isang protein pa called the cyclin. Ang cyclin ninyo, they are present directly inside the G1S and G2. Okay? So, ito sila, si cyclin yung tao. Si cyclin yung ID, si CDK yung tao na magtingin. Kung ikaw ba talaga yan nasa ID. Siya yung, sige. Si CTS, si cyclin. CDK yung tao. Okay? So, from the CDK, CDKs are cyclin dependent. They will not be activated. Kasi class, in normal state, normal ha, they are inactive. They don't do anything unless the CDK cyclin complex will happen, something will happen. Do you understand? The CDK will not work unless the cyclin is present. From the term cyclin dependent, kailangan ko si cyclin para ma-activate ako sa buhay ko. Parang kayo lang. Digid ko magkaon ma pag wala yun siya ugma ma. Mag-chat yun dapat ka karon, Jeremy. Parang ganon. So, the CDK are the ones that are going to activate the cyclin present in each gaps or synthesis. Are you following, class? Okay? So, si cyclin, this is a specific, what is this? A specific for each CDK. Okay? This will appear only in some of times, depende kay G1 ba, kay S ko, kay G2. Meron silang sariling cyclin at kailangan nila ng ibang CDK para ma-activate. Okay, can I erase this one now? Erase ko na ito. Alam na si cyclin at saka si CDK para silang mag-uyab. Yun na lang, mag-uyab, boyfriend, girlfriend. Pag walang CDK, pag walang cyclin, CDK will not be able to be activate or to do something else. They are just floating there. So they are all proteins. And remember, CDK is a phosphate group plus P, phosphate group. They are the ones that can activate or inactivate or kill a protein. So yan ang mga phosphate group. For them to become active, kailangan nila ng cyclin at that manner. For their phosphate to phosphorylate something. Okay? Are you following? Sige, let's continue. Can I erase this one now? Can I here? Erase ko na ito sila, mga terms sa board. Okay na? Size? Okay,
Yes,
sige.
sir.
So, I will no longer use the cyclin, the complete term, but I will only use cyclin and CDK. Okay, erase ko muna ha. So, remember, we have to form, our goal here is to form cyclin CDK complex so that we can have an activation and to continue with the checkpoint. So, first checkpoint here will be your G1S checkpoint, okay? Or the control points. So here in G1S, class may isa pa dito ha na control point. Ang tawag diyan, ang tawag doon, I forgot. Ang tawag doon ay restriction point. So depende na yun siya kung mag-diretso siya S or mag-diretso siya kay G0. Anyway, let's focus here. So sa G1 class, meron tayo ditong cyclin D and cyclin E. Specific, di ba ang sabi ko cyclin? So single siya dyan. Pag si cyclin D and cyclin E, dyan lang, wala si CDK, they will not function and they will not do anything. They serve as the ID for the cell or if the cell can continue to S. Okay? That is why for the cell to be continuing to S, kailangan i-check muna ng cell, kompleto na bang organelles ko? Okay na bakit papaano? May mga proteins na ba ako? Am I big enough now? So ano mangyari sa S nga? They will replicate pag na-meet na yon na gusto ng cell, ano ang kailangan niya gawin sunod sa S? Kailangan niya mag-replicate ng DNA. Class, take note, the body has the what we call RB or the retinoblastoma. Okay? Spell ko na lang. Okay, kung maka-Google kayo, go na. Retinoblastoma is a protein that doesn't like DNA replication para maiwasan ng cancer. Kaya kayo, hindi kayo biglang may magtubo na kamay dito or may magtubo na biglang earlobe or 5 na ngipin kaagad or 3 talukap. It keeps the body into normal replication. RB yan siya na protein. Ang tawag sa kanya, retinoblastoma. Okay? So don't forget si RB. Teacher RB nyo. So, sa exam, just remember, Teacher RB, retinoblastoma stops the cell to replicate DNA drastically. Or, huwag ka muna mag-replicate, huwag ka muna mag-synthesis. So, mag-stay ka lang kay G1. So, paano mo mapigilan to? Kailangan ko man, sir, mawala si RB para mag-continue kay S. Anong gawin? The cyclin D will pair with what? With CDK2. So complex na yan. While si cyclin, mali. Sorry. Na-erase na lahat tuloy. Kasalanan talaga ito ba? Okay, let's continue here. Fast forward. Okay, checkpoint. So here, okay, let's continue na. So dito merong cyclin D, cyclin E. Okay, correct? So dito para mag-continue siya for the synthesis of the DNA, kasi meron ditong RB. Itong si RB, yan yung nagapigil sa kanya para mag-continue. So si RB dito, nagabantay lang dyan. Dili ka pwede magpatakag-replicate sa DNA. Basig ma-cancer pa lang ka. Na-understand nyo? Tama? So tigbantay siya. So bawal siya mag-continue. So with that, kailangan niya ma-activate muna or mamatay siya muna through the use of complex CDK and cyclin. Okay? So itong cyclin D, si cyclin E will have to pair. So ang kailangan ng cyclin E is your CDK complex. Okay, magiging cyclin para kay CDK2. Wait lang. Magulo. CDK2 paired with your cyclin E, while the CDK4 will pair with cyclin D. Now, itong CDK4 cyclin D complex, siya yung inhibit kay retinoblastoma para hindi na siya maggalaw, hindi na siya magkaroon ng function. Ano mangyari ngayon? The cell now can multiply its DNA. Gets? So pag ito siya will be deactivated using the CDK4 cyclin D process or complex, it will now start to what? Start to have a go signal na pwede ka na mag-DNA replicate. Pero hindi pa mag-DNA replicate. Signal lang. Parang, okay na. Okay? Now, in S, meron tayo ditong cyclin A. Naghihintay lang yun siya. Dugay sa mag-abot ni CDK. So, ang kailangan na CDK here is, ang kailangan na dito is si cyclin A. Ang pair niya dapat kay si CDK2. Okay? CDK4, cyclin D complex, signal lang na okay, pwede ka na mag-multiply ng DNA mo. While the cyclin A, CDK2 complex will start now to what? Activate DNA. DNA replication. Meaning, pwede ka na mag-start or nagsisimula na siyang mag-duplicate. So remember, per process, meron tayong mga cyclins na present. They need to be paired with a specific CDK for them to become active. Take note class, di ba sabi ko kanina, si CDK is phosphate group plus P. Kasi ang proteins, pag meron siyang na-mix na complex na, it can phosphorylate another protein to make it inactive. Plus, the proper term here is phosphorylate, meaning it will inactivate a protein. In this case, the CDK4 phosphate group with the help of the cyclin D will phosphorylate your retinoblastoma. for it not to stop the cell from dividing its DNA. Okay? Are you following? What time na ba? Ang aga pa man. Meron pa tayong 30 minutes. Are you following grade 12?
Yes, sir.
Ba't nagkapahina ang boses natin? Kapoy na? Okay? So where are we now? We are now in the gap 2. In the gap 2, di ba nangyari doon? It will start to replicate the DNA. Replicate the organelles and prepare itself to become or to undergo division through mitosis and somatic cells. So in this case, meron tayo ditong cyclic B. Okay? So you can notice parang A, B, C, D. Pero ang kasi dito kay M, siya, spindle checkpoint. Iba naman siya. Hindi niya kailangan ng protein, kailangan niya ng specific organelle na nag-function during this time. So, in this G2M checkpoint, ang tawag dito again is the G2M checkpoint. Tingin ko klaro sa screen nyo naman. This is called the G2M. So, sa exam class, good luck talaga sa atin, no? So, sa G2M checkpoint, si CYB, si cyclic B, kailangan niyang hanapin yung kanyang partner na dapat ma-meet niya yung partner niya na si CDK1. Okay? The CDK1 will tell the cell itself that you can now go and proceed to cell division, that is in that case M, mitosis. Then, of course, this will now produce 2 daughter cells. Both of them will proceed directly towards your gap 1 again, and the process will continue as a cycle, so on and so forth. Do you get it now? What are the checkpoints? Anong purpose ng mga proteins natin? Hello? Yes, Josh, please ask questions.
Sir, saan galing yung CDK241? Bakit hindi sila magkasunod yung number?
Okay, very good. Class, the terms here or yung mga tawag niyan yung mga mnemonics or yung mga ginagamit na mga ano bang term sa science? Basta mnemonics na lang. These are assigned not because of orderly manner, but because what type of protein is present per specific time sa isang cell. Nirepresent lang siya na parang pie graph, pero lahat sila ito present sa cell. Clear? They will only be activated in specific time because mag-appear lang yung CDK during itong cyclin during specific time also. So, hindi siya talaga based na naka-order. Okay? They are just floating there. Once this protein will emerge or will be present, mag-mix lang sila together to become a complex, but it doesn't mean na they should follow a certain circular. This is just a representation in yung pie chart. So, hindi talaga siya parang 1, 2, 3, 4 yung nangyayari. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, ganun siya. Okay? Pero technically, almost same lang naman siya. I'm not sure lang saan ko mahanap si CDK3. Kasi walang CDK3 dito na nangyari. Baka sa iba siya nangyari. Pero you can, parang siyang almost process kasi CDK1 kay GAP2, then CDK2 kay synthesis, then CDK4. Wala talagang 3. So parang gano'n na lang. 1, 2, 4 lang siya. Okay? Class, did you get the flow chart here? What are the purposes of the the CDK cyclin complex and how they can activate something because they are the ones who will try to manage the cell and for it to undergo a normal division. Okay? That is why sa cancer cells mo, they are not normal because the checkpoints here, yung mga cyclin nila at saka CDK nila are not working properly. That is why ang kanilang RB is totally dead. Na-gets niyo? Parang dead most of the time. Yung RB nila na supposed to be mag-inhibit na mag-grow, yung RB nila na mag-inhibit na mag-divide will be deactivated causing the cell to divide rapidly, not normal. So magdami ang cancer cells at magkalat sa katawan. Clear? So that is why the body will try to envelope the tumor para mayroon siyang sariling sac because the body cannot control the cells Kasi ito mga cancer cells class, they don't believe in your body's order anymore. They are their own organism, para silang parasite sa loob ng katawan. Hindi na sila member ng katawan mo. Kasi yung brain mo or yung body cells mo, they cannot tell the cancer cells what to do anymore kasi they are having their own. So ang mangyari, kayang sabi ko, those cells near the cancer will be deprived with nutrients kasi mas mabilis mo sila magkain kasi kailangan nila maraming energy during the gap 1 ng kanilang pangbuhay because they are replicating too much or too fast. So the other cells will be deprived, maging malnourished, and mamatay sila. Then mas magdaki yung tumor, magdami yung cell, ganon. At saka magkaroon na ng feel ng pain. That is why the action of the chemotherapy is to kill and stop everything. Okay? They will ito siya. That's why it's called chemotherapy. The chemotherapy, most of this are killing the cyclic and the CDK through chemical processes, chemical reaction sa katawan. So pag mawala itong CDK and cyclin, the complexes will not occur. Therefore, the cells will not be able to replicate. Kasi sa RB, walang maggalaw kay RB. Nagets ninyo? That is why all cells during chemotherapy and radiation are affected, not only the cancer cells. Kagaya ng sabi ko, maapektuhan ang cancer cell, pero pati ang skin cells nyo, lahat sila, mag-stop sila multiply. Kaya yung tao, namutla kasi yung blood cells niya, wala na replenish. So may certain time lang na pwede mag-chemotherapy. So minsan, during chemotherapy, mamatay yung patient pag di niya kakayanin. So magkalbo siya, mamutla, mag-vomit sila kasi yung kanilang digestive tract yung isa sa matamaan. Kasi class, laging nare-replenish ang digestive tract, especially yung tiyan nyo kasi nga may acid doon, lagi siyang mapunit or lagi siyang mag-wear off. So pag hindi siya mag-wear off or hindi siya ma-replace ng bago, magsakit yung tiyan. So ano mangyari? Mag-vomit yung patient. Kasi hindi kaya ng tiyan na mag-digest kasi nga wala nang replication na nangyari, walang division ng cell because of chemotherapy. Parang ganon siya. So disadvantage talaga masyado kung mag-undergo ng chemo kasi parang kaunti na lang yung chance. So, ganon. Sad to say. Pero may naka-survivors naman. Good to hear na nakayaran ng katawan nila. Okay? Are there any questions, class? I hope in the exam, if I will manipulate the questions using the CDK cyclin complex, maintindihan ninyo siya. Don't forget the pairs, who are the pairs? Sige na lang. Allow me to give you the screenshot here or to have you get the screenshot for this one. Sino yung mga dapat na pairs? Parang may mali. Hindi ko maintindihan. Wait lang. So, paano ba to? Okay. Okay, so let's try to summarize this one. I will only show you the cyclin and the CDK complexes here. For the G1, meron tayong dalawang cyclin, namely the cyclin D, cyclin E. So in this case, in the G1S checkpoint, kailangan niya magkaroon ng pair na CDK2 paired with the cyclin E and CDK4 paired with cyclin D. Itong si cyclin D CDK4 complex will kill or inhibit the RB because the RB doesn't allow multiplication or replication of the DNA. So ang mangyari ngayon, it will give a thumbs up na pwede na mag-undergo because in the S phase, meron tayong ditong cyclin A. Itong cyclin A na to will only pair. So cyclin A will only pair with CDK2 so that it will now give a go signal or it will now activate it will activate the DNA replication. After nyan, na-DNA replicate na and na-check ng checkpoint na ang DNA na na-replicate is very good and maayos. Normally kasi class, during this time sa synthesis, sa checkpoint banda, pag malapit na mag-end yung synthesis dito banda, dito class o dito na part, the cell will, with the help of the proteins, will check if the replications are correct. na-replicate na ito siya na certain na certain na DNA. Okay na. Pag merong nakita na mali, may isang mali, they will try to fix that one by replacing it and destroying the wrong DNA. So meron talagang merong control. Okay, may control sila doon before proceeding. Yun ang purpose ng checkpoints, to control the mistakes and remove it. Yes, Hazel? Hazel? You're raising your hand, Hazel.
Sir, question po.
Please, yes.
May main reason ba kung bakit matay yung retinoblastoma?
Mamatay? Yung retinoblastoma. Class, I'm just using the term patay ha, but the proper term in medical is to inactivate the retinoblastoma. So, ang
Bakit
retinoblastoma,
sir?
bakit siya mamatay? Okay, very good.
Bakit masira yung process?
Bakit yung retinoblastoma is ma-inactivate? Yung tanong?
Diba, magkaroon ng cancer cell yung body
Let's say, may
kapag
cancer.
kapag na-deactivate yung retinoblastoma. So, may main
Mm.
reason ba kung bakit mamatay siya? Or yun, ma-deactivate?
Ma-deactivate siya.
masira yung
Very good.
process.
Yes, kasi normal, sige, let's compare muna. Sa normal cells, ang kanilang retinoblastoma are always there to guard and to check if the cell is ready or the cell is ready to replicate its DNA. Para normal na yung process and tama yung time na dumating sila. Not too early, not too late. Sa cancer cells, there is something happening or there is something that happened along the way, in specifically during the checkpoint. So let's say, for example, here, let's say dito sa my gap 1 or sa my synthesis, normally kasi class, ang cancer happens during the synthesis time. Okay? Pag wrong yung instruction na nangyari, let's say given na yun siya. Successful yung RB niya, na-cancel out yung RB niya. Correct time, correct flow. Here in this process here, pag yung wrong na DNA na replicate, kasi marami kasing reason bakit nagkaroon ng abnormal replication. Pwedeng sa diet ng person or na-expose sa radiation, for example, nuclear radiation, magkaroon ng cancer, or pwede siyang, I'm not sure if it's genetics or pwede siyang genetics, may something wrong sa kanyang genes mismo sa cell na yon. Okay, na ipasa or na-activate siya later in life because of bad habits ng katawan, because cancers are normally came from or because of people being unhealthy and they are abusing their body, like for smoking, drinking. So, yun, basta maraming cancers, whatever, whatnot. So, during this time, yung cell na unhealthy, pag yung cell unhealthy siya, it cannot function properly. Okay, if the person is unhealthy, the body is unhealthy. So, with that case, during this time, na si cell nag-check na successful si RB, na-kill si RB. In this case, pag i-check niya yung cells, ay yung DNA niya, pag meron ng konti dito na, for example, ito na part, nagkaroon na ng twist. Ang mangyari dito, it will go and proceed with G2 kasi nga itong cell is incapable of checking it properly kasi unhealthy siya. So maraming mga toxins or masamang nangyayari sa cell. So hindi niya masyado na-check. What will happen? The replicated here will continue on and it will no longer be a normal cell, gaya ng sabi ko, kasi nga nag-success ang kanyang mitosis. Now, since this cell is not normal and this is not normal, it will continue the process, and with that, most likely, it will undergo the same complex here to deactivate the RB, but the same problem will occur on this specific area because the code happened during this time. So dito yung mali mismo na instructions. And sometimes, pwede din, correct? Pwede rin dito, sa checkpoint na dito, if there are, let's say hypothetically, too much CDK na na-produce, or pwede din, sa synthesis, ang RB niya hindi na present. Totally wala na siya. That is why, gaya ng sabi ni Sir kanina, during interphase, the normal cells stay here. But for cancer cells, they just go and have a shortcut directly to M. They will undergo pa rin this phase pero quicker. Possible na theory doon or possible reason, yung RB nila is nawala na. Na-desynthesize na yung protein kasi nga yung cell mo nagkaroon ng exposure sa radiation. So ano mangyari? Mag-divide na mag-divide, walang mag-regulate na RB, walang mag-regulate ng mga checkpoints, and the cell will continue and propagate uncontrollably. Na-satisfy ko ba yung question, yung answer, yung question mo? Or you want to more elaborate? Kasi class, complex kasi ang cancer, ang oncology. Marami siyang deeper reasons behind. Even psychology says that if people don't let their emotions out, the body will have hormones produced that will flood the cell with hormones, and the cell will not be able to function well. It will question the process inside it. Possible mag-effect na kay RB or sa mga CDK, CYK, CYC complexes. So, lahat will go hand in hand. Maraming reasons. Pero number one reason is eating unhealthy food, especially sugar. Sugar kasi yun yung nagbibigay ng energy sa kanya to really multiply more sa cancer cells. Ang food ng cancer cells ay sugar talaga. Kasi yun naman ang kailangan ng mitochondria. Kasi kailangan nila ng cell para yung mitochondria will work well ay ng sugar para mag-multiply ng mabilis. Kasi yun ang purpose nila sa life. Kasi nga abnormal yung kanilang instruction. Walang checkpoints. May checkpoints pero hindi masyado nag-work well. Did I satisfy your question?
Yes, sir. Yes po. Thank you po.
Thank you. Ang ganda lang question mo, to be honest. Medyo na-challenge ako nung kasi hindi talaga ako magaling sa oncology. I'm not really deep into oncology kasi medyo mahirap yung topic. Yes, question please before we will end by 3:30 kasi late ako nag-start kanina. Yes, Josh. Josh.
Sir, pag masira na yung process ng cell, sir, yung mga future daughter cell niya, masira na rin, sir.
Exactly. Kung ano ang puno, siya ang bunga. Bongbong Marcos. No. Kung ano ang puno, siya rin ang bunga. Okay? Kasi class, ito siya. Sa cells, once na nakalagpas sa kay G2, there is no turning back. Lahat na maging anak nila class will become a mutant at possible pa, pag isang ikot pa more, one ikot pa more, yung mutant before, mas naging mutant pa lalo. Kaya kasi ang cancer cells, pag late na nalaman, di ba may mga sila? Ano nga yung levels ng cancer? Sige daw, be? Oncology 101. Anong mga levels ng cancer? Hello? Anong levels ng
Stage one,
cancer?
sir. Stage
Yes,
one
mga
to stage
stages. Yes. Anong pinaka-max?
Stage 4, sir.
Or
Yes, normally 4. Bakit na malala pag stage 4? Kasi class, sa stage 1, ang sinasabi is, yung kanilang first offset, first na na-detect nila is, medyo okay pa, kaya pa kasi parang biglang nag-mutate lang. Sa stage 4, parang level 4 mastermind na yun siya, na nag-learn na ng maraming abnormalities, parang XXXXXX na siya na mutant. So mahirap na siya patayin kasi mapaspas na kaya ng tubo at yung sinasabi ng doktor sa TV, totoo yun, kumalat na sa katawan kasi ito nagpropagate na kahit saan, mag-go with the bloodstream na siya and kahit saan siya magtubo. Once na magtubo sa lungs, possible magtubo na yun sa brain. Nagets nyo? Ganun siya. So hindi fix ang kanyang pag-mutate kasi abnormal na dito, pwede mag-error ulit kasi wala man nag-keep sa kanya to organize itself. Yung cells na yon. So ang mangyari, magiging mas powerful siya. Parang virus lang, good. So ganun siya. So pag late na malaman, yung kalaban mo na cells are very hard to kill kasi nga daghan na kaayo sila at mas mabilis ang pag-propagate. Pag i-chemotherapy mo, mamatay na yung tao. So minsan ginabigyan na lang taning ng buhay kasi nga nothing or medical medical intervention is no longer needed na kasi nga too late na siya. Yung iba sinusubukan pero yung patient will most likely die later on kasi nga nakapagod na yung katawan. Kasi nga chemotherapy is powerful plus radiation. Lalo na pag malaki na yung tumor masyado or kumalat na talaga, buong katawan talaga yan siyang i-chemo ba? Anyway, buo naman talaga. Except radiation kasi radiation is specific parts of the body lang man yung tinatamaan ng radiation to declutter the cell. So yun class. So be careful talaga kasi cancer is really something na So anyway, class take note ha. Baka may wrong idea. Cancer cells are already present in the body. Okay, they are there. But it's up to us whether we activate them or not from what we are doing to our body. Okay? Ganon. If you abuse your body, of course, the cell will also get tired and they will also act abnormally. Okay, parang ganon. Na-notice nyo, those people who are living in the city, yung mga rich people mostly, no, I'm not telling naman na lahat, compared to those people living sa mga bukid or sa mga malalayong lugar, yung wala masyadong mga buildings or what, or exposed sa mga maraming bagay like mga jeep or mga cars, wala silang cancer masyado or may case ng cancer sa kanila. Those people who are in the city or nasa mga polluted areas, doon na maraming nagkakaroon ng cancer. 'Di ba? Na-gets niyo yun kasi nga it's with the lifestyle. Okay? So hindi porket mayaman or something like that, it ends with the lifestyle pa din. Okay? So class, may gusto akong tanong sa inyo. 'Di ba sir, 'di ba class namamatay ang cells? Tama. So hindi ito always mangyari. Mag-abot ang time, the cell will die and will no longer replicate or duplicate kasi mamatay na siya. That's normal. Pero ang cancer cells, sir, kung mamatay ang cells, so kung paspas ang cancer cells na mag-replicate, mas paspas po ang kinabuhi. No. Let me introduce to you the term, paki-take note or research nyo to, apoptosis. This is the program cell death. Lahat ng cells sa katawan, meron yan. Kaya tayo nag-age, nagkatigulang ta. Walang magstay na ganito ang itsura hanggang 40 years old, hanggang 90. Catabolismic processes, the cell will always die and we will age. Apoptosis is the program for the cell to stop now and you have to die and you will be replaced by new one. Parang ganon siya. So ito siya na yung mother cell before, mamatay na siya in the future. For how many days lang siguro, depende sa cell type. Pero si cell, cancer cell, bisag kapila pa na siya, the apoptosis is not present sa cancer cells. Kaya ang tumor will grow bigger and bigger. Buhi na Japon to pinakauna na cancer cell na nadidto. Kaya malaki siya at pwede siyang magkalat. Kasi wala silang program. Kasi nga, nagsira naman ang program nila. Wala silang, parang sa robot god na nag-malfunction, di ba sa movies, wala siyang turn off button or override canceled or override not accepted, parang ganon. So wala nang override. Si cancer cells padayon ra hanggang maging worse, cancel na. Marami na masyado siyang abnormal program. So sagisagin na siya ka ng replicate, parang ganon. So by the way, I would like to add also, you know what's HPV, girls? Ano niyo bang HPV? Yes, Hazel, question. Ang uban, wala ko na question ba?
Sir, question lang, sir.
Please.
Di ba apoptosis causes us to age? How about the case of Benjamin Button, sir? Is it considered as apoptosis as well?
Apoptosis. Ano yung title ng ano niya? The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, no?
Yes,
I
sir.
haven't read the RRL ng kanyang medical history. Is it ano ba? Sorry, is that true ba nangyari? I'm not sure.
May
Meron bang
cases, sir.
May
na
case to
baliktad
na
yung-
reverse. Baliktad, yes.
Yes po.
Most ano ang tawag doon? Search na daw to class if I'm correct. Help me. Search the term telomere. Search na daw. Google daw, help me. I cannot type man god. Search the term telomere for me, please. Ano ibig sabihin ng telomere if tama yung term na nalala ko? Search daw the term telomere. Wait lang, mag-charge muna ako.
End of chromosome.
Tama ba ako? Telomere? Sige daw, tama ang na ano ko. If naalala ko pa yung term sa college, telomere ba yung tabo ni teacher?
Based sa Google, sir, it's the end of a chromosome.
Yes. Telomere is the reason na na-discover ng scientists why we are aging. So most likely kung may mga cases same with Benjamin Button, not siguro as profound as Benjamin Button's case kasi it's impossible na ma-reverse. Pero meron tagang cases, yes. I also remember may mga cases na nag-reverse, nagtanda siya, or nagtanda din na biglang nagbata siya later on. Possible siguro na may nangyari sa kanyang telomere, nag-mutate siya, or yung mother during pregnancy na exposed to a certain chemical or a certain radiation, that reverses the instruction given to the cells in case of the telomere or sa proteins niya to reverse. Pero ang alam ko na case ngayon, parang 1 in a million, is the case na magbigla katanda, mabilis yung aging mo, the telomere are working too much. Parang ganon. So, I will try to read on other RRL regarding the reverse aging. So nagtanda din, nagbata kaagad. Pero yung kay Benjamin Button, yung naging baby siya sa last. Tama bang, no? Nag-baby siya sa last na, naging baby?
Yes,
Tama ba?
sir.
Naging baby siya. It's impossible. Kasi parang, saan napunta yung mga bones na nag-grow na alone? So, I don't know. Kasi may mga, basta it's a complicated process kasi siya. So anyway, ganun. Good question again. Thank you for that. So I guess I can see here future mga medical field students, no? So I hope, yeah. Class, are you enjoying or may naget naman kayo sa class natin today? So kailangan talaga ng more than
Yes,
1
sir.
hour, no? Okay lang naman? Enjoy naman? How? Yes, thank you. How about the others?
Opo, sir.
Opo, sige. Na-record ba ito? Kung wala na-record, makasabang ko ano ni Manuel. Naka-record yun di ay. Okay, are there any questions? Class, please ask more. So yun lang, the value you can get here away from science is the importance of following instructions so that everything will be organized. Kailangan sundin yung mga instruction. In that case, you have to follow the law because the law is implemented to give order, okay, peace and order in the country. Parang ganon. But not all human laws are correct. Let's be honest. Okay? So with that, class, I hope you are able to get everything here from the topic about the things happening in G1, S, and G2, together with the control points that keeps things in order and checks whether the cells can proceed to the next level, together with the complex CDK cycline complexes and their correct pairs and what they are trying to activate or deactivate or phosphorylate in the process. Okay? So remember in the exam, okay, sinulat ko dito, ito lalabas sa exam. So remember, CDK, cyclin dependent K4 will be paired with cyclin cyclin D so that it can phosphorylate. Okay, the RB so that the RB will not stop the cell to synthesize its DNA. Remember, cyclin D CDK4 or cyclin D cyclin dependent kinases 4 complex. Grabe, no? Anyway, they are all proteins naman. And protein din itong si RB. So si CDK is phosphate group. Ma-activate lang ito siya pag mayroon siyang cyclin kasi nga they are not activated pag sila lang alone. Itong si phosphate group will, last one na to, don't forget the term phosphorylate. Tama ba ang term ko? Phosphorylate RB so that it will be inactivated. Ganun lang. Okay, are there any questions? Wala na? If wala na, please send me a heart react so that I can stop writing and talking now. I know you're tired. Una talaga si Karel. Oh, bantay lang ka, Karel. Ayaw na ako mag-talk ni Karel. Anyone? Wala na? So with that, I will check your attendance pa din because I did not get the attendance for the Thursday. I will carry it on with your attendance now. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. So class, I hope you're able to enjoy our lesson today. With that, goodbye everyone. Have a nice day and see you again this coming Thursday for the next and last topic before the summative test and mastery test. So alam nyo na ang future ng ating lessons. Okay, pakibasa na lang ng inyong ng inyong modules for that, okay? Hello? Hello? By the way, may video ako binigay sa inyong Google Classroom. Sagutan nyo yun ha, under Ed Puzzle. Okay, yun ang inyong first activity. Okay, class, any questions? Wala na? Okay, you may go and exit now and take your rest. Have a nice day. Paalam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you kayo,
Thank you,
class.
sir.
Bye-bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.